Doesn't in Apple's M2 line processors, don't they use APUs in that?
I don't really get too familiar with Apple, to be honest with you, because Apple just
I'm not
sucks.
sure.
Apple is like maybe Apple's like maybe one scale up, just a little bit higher than what Linux is. You know,
I don't know when it comes to the CPUs, when it comes to the processing units, the RISC-based M1s and M2 processing units, they are interesting chipsets. They're interesting.
now they also make claims that like DLSS is supposed to be really good when it comes to like playing games with ray tracing. Um,
Okay.
that's another thing that they talk about. Now I've seen ray tracing whenever my son was living with me, and he would always show it. And then I've told you about how me and him had conversations about it, and how I found out about it.
Mm.
Like, and that was something that happened like maybe 2.5 years ago, where I started seeing the games and how they did that. But now they're saying like DLSS is supposed to be really important when it comes to freaking games with ray tracing. It's supposed to simulate like realistic lighting and shadows and then reflections. So if you're looking down at
Again,
the
I'm not sure if that's. I'm not really sure if that's artificial intelligence. Well, sorry, artificial intelligence, because as I pointed out to you, I was doing ray tracing back in the 80s. And you remember TV programs like Babylon 5, the science fiction of the early 90s. That was those ray tracing ideas were being produced using Commodore Amiga video toaster hardware.
Yeah, but what about freaking frame rates? When you were doing that, did you lose frame rates?
Well, obviously, because I was using BBC at the time back in the 80s, we were talking about a good hour, 2 hours for it to render.
Let's see, this is where DLS compensates. It compensates for
Yeah, but we're talking about the 8-bit generation, and we're talking about machines that only were running at 5 megahertz. We aren't talking about modern sort of machines.
Oh, so now you're backtracking. That's like the British politician.
I'm not backtracking. I'm just saying that there is
this is a generation. Now, in today's world, you still lose frame rates by having to use ray tracing. I mean, that does happen.
I've not come across any projects that use ray tracing. Not that I really look at that sort of thing.
Right, that's more of a game
these days, but
that's more of a gaming kind of setup. But it does happen.
I suppose on my computer, just looking for my thing, I've got a computer game called X4 Foundations, created by EagleSoft, which is a sort of space simulation RTS sort of thing, and that uses ray tracing for sort of light sources on metal and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Now on the GPUs too, I actually was wrong about that, because like they're talking more about the RTX 20 and stuff that people are using for GPUs in their computers too. So when you were talking about it being in the actual computer, that is actually what was being discussed. Because I stopped and thought about it. Um, it would be it would be a benefit. DLSS would be if you were looking at the GPU and the workload and how it helps reduce it.
That's why I wouldn't like to call it artificial intelligence, because again, it's just a mathematical equation that a processor is doing. And that's, I can't really justify calling that artificial intelligence.
Well, I know that they've released like quite a few versions of DLSS. Like they have DLSS 1, they've got DLSS 2. I think they have 3. Yeah, I think they do. I think they have DLSS 3.0 and stuff like that. But this is all from NVIDIA, and like the RTX, I believe, is now up to like RTX 40 series when it comes to GPUs.
Yeah.
So that's
not that I really take very much notice of that side of the industry.
I know that's pretty new age for an old dinosaur like you. Like you're old school.
What's the enterprise? He said, what's the enterprise use case for this?
What's enterprise? What? You kind of went out there.
I can actually think of a couple. Yeah, I can actually think of a couple enterprise use cases for this sort of technology, such as in three-dimensional computer-aided design.
Yeah. Duh. Think about it. Yeah. I was having conversations with my son James about this stuff, just me using freaking computer graphics on Blender. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, good example.
And the stuff has been around for years. But yeah, I completely agree with you on that. I think that's the one thing that people have a hard time believing.
I was talking to somebody some time ago and talking about there's an old PC software called Pathway, PLVIY, and which is a rendering, a ray tracing package that dates back from the early 90s, and I checked that I think it was last year, and I was surprised that it's still being maintained as a open source project, or better still, a project that you may be familiar with, a project called Lightwave.
Yeah, I barely remember.
Rendering, and that started out as an Amiga project back in Amiga and Atari ST, so 16-bit machines back in the late 80s, early 90s, and that's still being developed, maintained.
Now, later on, man, because I don't want this. I don't want this to be like too much of a sales pitch, because I know how that annoys you. Later on, I want to come back and start getting more into like just specifically tensor cores and talking about that. Now, I did want to mention a few games though that I have checked out to tell people what kind of games are using DLSS, just so they know. Now, I have only like 6 of them, but I'll just go ahead and put it out there. Like if you want to use games that are using DLSS, there's games like Cyberpunk 2077. There's Control. I haven't played this game at all, but
which I actually I've got a copy of. I got a copy just before Christmas, and I've yet to play or have had time to even look at it. Really,
which one?
only
Cyberpunk?
briefly looked at it for by 20 minutes. Yeah,
Is it?
yeah.
Yeah, Cyberpunk 2077. If you got that one, it's already been fixed from the previous glitches and stuff. So if you got it around Christmas time, so you don't have to worry about the craziness, because it did have issues in the original.
I think I've got the late. I think I've got the latest version 2.13 or 14 or something. But yeah.
The next game that I'm going to say, I haven't played it yet, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. It's called The Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I don't know if you've heard that.
Okay.
But they have that one, and then there's...
I think I've come across...
Now, after that, you have Battlefield V, or Battlefield 5. I don't know why I said V. Well, it says V, but it's Battlefield 5. I'm not really cool with Battlefield because it's just like there's just way too much freaking fighting going on. You know what I mean? Like when you go in there, there's like shitloads, massive amount of people on there. You know what I mean? And you die like 5 seconds after you go on there. You know what I mean? So
I'm not a big fan of first-person shooters per se. I say per se because I'm thinking of games like Deus Ex, which is more of an RPG plus first-person shooter elements. But I'm not a big fan of first-person shooters generally, and I'm absolutely not a fan of multiplayer first-person shooters.
Now, if you're into the sissy games, like what I'm hearing there, you know, you can play Minecraft. Okay. Now, Minecraft has ray tracing that you can enable. You go in there, you enable it, bam, you're set up. You just use Minecraft.
Okay. Ray tracing on Minecraft.
Yeah, you can actually enable it now inside of Minecraft. So, other than that, the other one that I found out was Watch Dogs, and that's Legion. If you get Watch Dogs Legion, then that one also has DLSS, and you can use it on that one too.
That's the second Watch Dogs game, isn't it? Yeah, that was the second game.
Yeah, but I mean,
largely the Watch Dogs series.
There's two games.
Sorry, no, I was just thinking the Watch Dogs. Yeah,
okay.
Watch Dogs, both series, both episodes of both games wasn't really greatly received by the general public, or wasn't greatly received by the sort of media.
Yeah. Now,
they were a bit flops.
That's kind of what happened with Cyberpunk too. Like whenever it first came out, it was so messed up that freaking it didn't do very well. So that
funny enough, same with I was talking about the X4 Eaglesoft game earlier, and for the first. And it was originally released, I think, 2017, 2018, and for the first 2 years it was a buggy mess, and they've been releasing add-ons and DLCs and patches for it. Even now, they are planning to release a new patch for it in the summer, I believe, and they've been releasing upgrades for it, I think 1 per year.
Yeah, and that's something that I had a problem with when it came to Baldur's Gate. because this new Baldur's Gate that came out, I mean, it took them forever before they could get that game out of freaking beta.